Okay, so you really want to know, huh? Fine. I'm gonna start by telling you this. And this is important, so listen up. Your entire life, this one and many others, you've been a god who uses its absolute power to make yourself powerless. Entire cultures, especially this one, have all been afraid of their weaknesses, supposedly, when in reality, they've all been afraid of their power. This goes beyond the matrix of reality. This is something much deeper than that. This is eternal. This is fully realizing your consciousness. This is infinite. This is evolution. This is our divine right.
And we could just stop there because every time this man nails it with this introduction. I love the music so much, but I'm really excited. We're not going to end right there. We're going to keep it going. I am really excited. I'm coming to you live from my sister's house. I've got a great guest for everybody today, and I'm realizing the lighting in here makes me look extremely bald. I'm really happy to be able to, basically defy conception. I have been losing my hair for, God, it's been 15, 20, so many years now. Still don't have any good bald jokes. So I'm wondering if you guys, you have any good bald jokes, send those my way. You can just email me, solutionsnotrevolutions@gmail.com. A couple things just before we get started. This is being distributed by my friends at Content Safe. They distribute people's content all over the internet. So if you're, afraid of the band Hammer, you should be probably. We were just talking about that in the pre-interview. You might want to get with them. They can get your stuff distributed for you, so you don't have to spend 4 hours uploading to every platform. Just BitChute alone. If you ever upload anything to that crazy swamp, then you're going to know how difficult that it is. But anyway, they can take that off your hands for you. And they're great folks. So I highly recommend them. Contentsafe.co. Come see me next February. It's getting close. I'm going to be with some amazing people, Brandon Powell and Joe Roop in the desert with the Grimerica guys in February next year. Now, really excited to have my good friend Joey Kramer. We connected, let's say a week or two ago, and have a lot of really cool things in common. He is breaking into coaching and has had, a successful run of business behind him. So it's been really cool to connect and talk about where he is headed, and introduce you all to my good friend, Joey Kramer. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited, and I freaking love that introduction. The segue in, that was, enough said. You could just watch that and call it good.
I know if I just had one good bald joke, then it would have totally murdered. It would have been a great open. We might have just gone into the next density of consciousness at that point. It just would have been a spur right into it. But dude, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me. I really appreciate it. And I'm really excited about what you're doing, because I think you're doing an awesome job. And, you first reached out to me and told me a little bit about your experience, but I'm really excited to dig a little bit deeper and uncover, your experience of, basically awakening, thinking that you're crazy. I want to assure people out there who think they're crazy, you might be, okay? This is not medical advice, but
you are, but in a good way.
Right. But you also might not be. There's plenty of other people who are having strange, unexplainable phenomena, experiences, things happening to them. I'm a victim of sleep paralysis. That's one of the things that I have struggled with for many, many years, that I've learned more and more about, through shamanistic work and stuff like that. But, that's just one example. Some people are having Kundalini awakenings up there. Some people are having the Akashic records opened to them, all these different experiences. And I want to unpack what you've experienced a little bit, so that we can talk to some people who might be having some stuff happen in their life where they're like, why is this happening to me? What is going on? I feel weird and strange. It's almost like spiritual adolescence, isn't it? Like
it is where I tell people it's like we're in the finals of 12th grade, senior year of high school. And literally we're right there. We're just getting ready to graduate. and move on to this new reality, this new realm of existence that is going to be freaking amazing. But at this point, we still have to get through the finals, and it's getting harder and harder. The Chem finals really suck. You know, it's like the math finals. The time we live in right now sucks. I mean, if you look at it on the surface, for sure. So yeah, we're definitely progressing on, for sure.
Yeah, definitely something's happening. We're definitely being, inspired and to grow, and we are definitely having to do that, like it or not. So so I want to talk a little bit about that and unpacking that experience, and just maybe what your experience is like. For me, I kind of came into this whole world around 2012, just asking a lot of questions about the physical third dimensional reality that we face, and some discrepancies between what I was taught in school and what I perceived the world to be after graduating college. It took me 8 years. So
I'm sure it was a lot of fun.
Not that smart, lots of fun, lots of money. And then ultimately a few years it took me to start scratching my head and be like, what's going on? And am I thinking, or am I being thought? And asking some of those questions. For me, it really started with an external kind of thing, and then ultimately wound up becoming more of an internal journey. But I would love to unpack, what you've experienced, and see, if we can help anybody else who's kind of going through some of these growing pains.
Oh, I would love to share my journey with you. It's been truly a fantasy. And now that I recognize what it is and what it has been, it's just every day is more and more of a fantasy. And I get to live in just pure grace, is what I call it. It is understanding that everything in our past, every single thing, good, bad, indifferent, has been placed there by us for the purpose of learning. And when we take ourselves out, take that ego out of it, and really unravel what the hell it was and why it happened, everything just becomes like a video game. It's just fun. There's no more blaming ourselves, blaming others. It's literally just living life and having fun doing it, knowing that it's just one big game, and we're here to learn, we're here to love, we're here to evolve. So why the hell we want to beat ourselves up about everything? Everybody, that's one of the biggest things I focus on, is so many of us live in the past, and the past is just a lie. It's just stories we tell ourselves about what we believe the past was, what we believe has happened to us. There is no past, there is no future. There's only right now in this exact moment of time, and everything else is just a figment of our imagination. So yeah, I'd love to kind of go down my journey and what's gotten me here. I think it's funny. You said yours kind of started in 2012. That's literally the year mine started. I think the energies, there's a lot to break down in it. We're all just molecules of energy. We're all affected by, whether you want to believe it or not, we're all affected by the planets, the sun, all of the energy coming in and out of our universe, out of Earth. And it's affecting us in ways that are still yet to be explained, but they're being revealed slowly. And there was something going on in 2012. I mean, that was the Mayan calendar supposed to end. They knew something based on records, all of that. But I think a lot of us who were able to receive the information, that's when the real downloads, that's when it really started to kick in for us. And we didn't know why. I went through a divorce, and it started in 2012. And it was because the previous couple years I was diving deep, into all of it. And I think back, even when I was like a younger kid, in my like 10 years old, 12 years old, I used to watch like the History Channel and the Science Channel, and just fascinated with like aliens and all of this stuff that's out there that seems conspiracy or seems like a fantasy. And I just have been drawn to it my whole life. And then when this started happening kind of in 2012, I started diving deeper and deeper. I felt there was something more, and it was pushing me, driving me. Little did I know where it was going to take me, which is here. And it's been just an insane ride.
Dude, that's awesome. I feel the same way. I certainly did not know where I was going to end up or what was to await me, you know, because I've gone through several phases, honestly, since then, you know, like I felt like at that point, things cracked open and I could see things that I felt like other people couldn't see. Like I'm not a normie anymore. And so I got this like hit of ego as a result of that. Then I got into Buddhism a little bit, you know, and started to unpack some of the ideas in there. And then I just kind of got depressed from there. Like I was very overwhelmed with the information that
the reality,
the
once the
discrepancy
reality sets in and really hits you, everybody, we each go through that depression. It's so heavy when it hits in and it hits you, and it's like, what the hell is happening? Why am I feeling this way? And from everything I've learned, it's all of these past lives. It's all of this culmination. Like I said, we're at 12th grade, we're at our senior year finals, and everything's compiling down on us. All of these memories, all of the knowledge that we have from thousands of years of evolution, hell, billions, 4.5 billion, if we want to be precise, you know, and it's like, it's all compounding down, and our entire version, our entire sense of reality is being snapped. We're awakening to, holy shit, everything I ever thought about reality, my life, the past, it's all just a big illusion. It's all just a big lie, and it's all in our heads, you know. So yeah, it's hard to get through that alone. Many people do, but many people don't. It's really hard to start seeing through that depression and understanding why it's hitting you so heavily. And then once you get through it, that's when the breakthrough, that's when the beauty truly reveals itself in all of the facets of what we perceive as our existence.
Yeah, that seems to be pretty spot on from my experience too. And I was one of the ones who was, you know, I went through things mostly on my own. I tried to talk to people. I tried to talk to my family members. I ruined a bunch of, you know, family gatherings, reunions, Thanksgivings, Christmases, you name it, talking about some of this stuff and trying to, you know, get people to understand my perspective, because I felt so isolated and alone and, you know, and misunderstood. And, you know, ultimately though, it you know, I dug in more to the spiritual stuff, and that's really where I started to find some footing and start to live like you're talking about, amidst grace, you know.
And you're spot on. It is alone, you know, it's so lonely when you go through that. I get inspiration all the time, you know. I'll be driving, I don't go anywhere without a notepad, just because when it hits, it's like, oh, that's what that means, or, you know, it just hits and it sparks. And I've had that a few months ago. I heard something and it just triggered in me that this path of awakening is the loneliest journey that you can be on, because it's the path of rediscovering that there is nobody else but you. You're creating it all out of your imagination, and it's being projected out onto the screen. So it's that first understanding that it's only you and we're alone in this. It's so heavy and it's so lonely and scary. And then the deeper you dive, you realize, wait a minute, you're not alone. Even though you're the only one here, everybody else is going through this together collectively, and we're all just part of that one whole that makes it all up. We just perceive ourselves as individual 7.5 billion people, when in actuality, we're all just one person, you know, and we're all just part of God and the creator. So the reality is we can never be alone. We can never truly be without when we understand that. So yeah, it's a lonely journey at first, only to discover the beauty that rests on the other side.
Yeah, maybe beneath it, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a paradox, you know, like to unpack it mentally is not very easy, but you know, it's again one of those things, and I think we get the opportunity to really tell our own story or see it in our own way, and that's kind of like part of the beauty of the expression. It's like a lot of people telling the same story in their own way, which is cool. You know, because so many different takes on the what is really the same thing. But yeah, man, I love that. So I would love to just talk a little bit about, you know, your experience and some of the strange.
Yeah. Oh, I've got crazy stories. Remind me, well, we can go later into it, about my alien abduction, which happened about 5-6 years ago, which was freaking insane. I even went to the emergency room afterwards. And
Jesus.
you know, but let me build up credibility first before I dive into.
Let's rewind before we
Yeah,
jump
yeah.
right into
Remind
alien
me
abduction.
about that, because I've never actually told anybody other than my close family and friends that know about it. But yeah, it was insane. So last year, it was February of 2020, right before all hell broke loose in the world. And I was at my lowest point I'd been at in a long time. My wife and I owned our own company, and she was coming off of her slow season. So we didn't have any money coming in after the holidays kind of slowed down. I was also working as a door-to-door salesman selling solar to people in a new market here, Kansas City. It's not very popular. So, you know, not regardless, business wasn't good either. And it was wintertime. So needless to say, we're broke. We've got $200 left to our name. And at the end, next week is bills are coming due, 3,000 in rent, child support, you name it. We're freaking out, right? And my wife takes a trip to New York City, or her mom pays for her birthday. And they all go out there for a few days, and I'm left home here to do what I was doing at that point in time, working, but I was diving deep into meditations, self-discovery, reading every book I could get my hands on, right? And I decided one morning I was going to go out on a jog. It was my first jog of the year. I was preparing to run a triathlon that summer, so last summer. And my first day out, I go on a jog, and I'm coming up around the bend at the bottom of the street, and I misstep and I hear snap from my knee. I've blown my knee out 3 times. So now my good knee, I hear snap and I collapse. And I'm like, oh shit. So I hobble back home, freaking out, because now I knew what I had done. I'd blown my knee out. I can't go door to door with a blown out knee. Like, we are screwed. So I give it the rest of the day and sleep on it, wake up the next day praying that everything will be all right. So much pain. I had to jump and hop to the couch, knee swollen up, and I lost it. I just lost it. Anger, you know, like, what in the hell is this, God? I have been doing everything you have told me. You know, I pray, I meditate, I'm setting wheels in motion. I'm doing everything right. How could you do this to me? What is the purpose? And I lost it, and I'm in tears. I'm like, what the hell? I finally get my composure back, and I decide, you know what, I'm going to meditate, my morning routine. I'm at least going to do that, see where it takes me. And it was at that moment I had my first truly spiritual vision, more or less, is what I even recorded it afterwards. I've got it on my YouTube channel, and I'm sitting there talking about, holy shit, what just happened to me was amazing. And I asked God, I gave it all over. I just said, I don't know why this happened. Please show me why and how this serves you, how this serves my purpose. I don't know why, but I'm giving it up to you. And what was revealed to me was just amazing. I saw the future as it was going to play out. I saw my wife's company designing a new product that didn't even exist, but I saw this success coming where she was just selling thousands of these things and like money was pouring in and we're laughing and just everything's working out the way it's supposed to in this vision. And I'm like, oh my God, I at that moment I had the belief and the faith knowing it's all going to be fine. Everything is good. I asked and I was shown just a glimpse of what was going to come. So try imagining that conversation with my wife later that night as she's in tears in New York City, worrying about how we're going to pay the bills and how we're going to survive. And I just blew my knee out and I'm looking at her going, baby, it's all going to be good. It's all, you have to trust me. Everything's going to be amazing. I don't know how. I'm like, talked her off the fence. All right, fast forward. A couple weeks go by. The COVID happens, right? And they start shutting everything down. Well, her business was a events business. So the next thing you know, all of our events started canceling and we're having to refund thousands of dollars. Like, we don't have the money. Oh, which by the way, money unexpectedly came to us to pay the bills at the end of February from a previous job that I'd forgotten all about. They closed out some jobs for me from what I was selling, roofs and stuff. And next thing you know, they call me up, hey, come on in, we got a check for you. All right. So I was provided for. Well, COVID hits, everything shuts down. We're totally screwed. We've got zero way to make money at this point. She says, well, I'm going to throw this, what I've been doing, I'm going to put it into a kit and I'm going to throw it up on Etsy and see what happens. 2 weeks later, she gets picked up on a BuzzFeed article for the top Mother's Day gifts of 2020. And at that moment, that's when what I had envisioned started becoming the reality. And it wasn't until the day she's at Home Depot getting something and she had her phone set to notify her every time she made a sale on Etsy, and it would go off and go ka-ching. So she's in line and the next thing you know, she hears her phone going ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. She's like, what in the hell? And she's looking at it. It's just like order, 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 order. And it blew up. We ended up selling, I think, $60,000 in a month of this product that didn't exist prior to any of this, and fulfilled over 1,000 orders just on our own for Mother's Day. Got everything shipped out on time, and it was just amazing. We were pulling like 24-hour shifts and meditating like 20 minutes at a time to try and keep up, because it was COVID. We were locked down. We couldn't hire people to help us. So it was just us. And we got it all done. Next thing you know, we call a good friend of ours who's a business coach, successful business entrepreneur, one of Tony Robbins' like right-hand guys, actually. And he lives here in Kansas City, which is a whole nother story in and of itself.
Wow.
He befriended us like 5-6 years ago. And we've always wondered, why in the hell is this guy friends with us? What does he see in us? Only to discover that the whole purpose he was brought into our life was to help us build and develop this company. One was the first reason. Two, my purpose, what I was shown, and I'll talk about that here shortly. What I was shown was what my future will be in another vision I had. And I'm going to be on stages is what it showed me. I'm going to be inspiring the world. I'm literally going to be partners working with Tony Robbins. And this was all revealed to me through another vision meditation I had in August of that year. And it literally laid out it showed me the end, right? I didn't know how to get there. It just showed me this glimpse of the end. And it was so real. And it was so, I was there. I was performing on stage and I didn't know really what it meant. at that moment. I saw it, and it gave me that comfort again of keep moving forward. It showed me the end, just like it did with my wife's company, but it didn't show me how it was going to happen. So what I've found along my way was I'll go a month or two in, I might get lost. I might get a little like, all right, what's the next step? I don't know where to go next. And it's when I finally get to that moment of weakness or breaking down, like, what is next? I've gotten to the point now where I ask, like, okay, I've done this. I command you to show me what is next. And more or less, I usually get shown another piece of the puzzle. And that's where I implement that. And it's like I continue to get these glimpses of what's to come. And it reassures me as to what I'm doing is correct and to stay on that path. And it's like Neville Goddard says, live in the end. I'm literally living in the end. I'm being shown, I'm imagining the end. And now I'm working my way backwards, building it out into my reality. And it's freaking insane. That whole process in and of itself. Which another crazy thing that happened, which I wouldn't have believed it until it happened to me, was last August or September, I think it was, I was actually attacked, spiritually attacked, and beaten up in my own bedroom by some sort of an entity, negative entity that had tried to get into me. That was a just crazy ass story. What I'd been doing prior to that, I'd been doing a type of meditating and manifestation called mana manifestation. And it would take me about 10 minutes, and I'd do a series of breathings, and I'd harness the energy of a mana ball energy in my hands. And I would harness it and I'd bring it in, and I'd ask for whatever I wanted to see created. And at that point, I was creating shit almost like within hours of creating it. Like I could meditate, do that, and I would have a vision of a conversation with my wife and our employees at that time. And an hour later, I'd go downstairs to our morning meeting, and I shit you not, the conversation that I just had an hour before that would play out nearly word for word around the conference table. And I just sit back like, this is freaking cool. I don't know quite how I'm doing this, but this is freaking cool. And from doing that, I mean, I manifested hundreds of thousands of dollars last year. I manifested all sorts of new things into my life. So I'm obviously found a way to work with some energy, some power that I didn't know how to control at that moment. And so I get up, I'm doing my meditation that morning, and I'm standing up, and I take one breath in, got my eyes closed. I take one breath in, and I hold it for about 10 seconds, and I exhale. And that is the last thing I remember. I wake up on the floor with the loudest, most painful screaming noise coming through it wasn't even through my ears, it was inside my head. And I wake up and I'm holding my face like this, and I can't move, I'm paralyzed. And it's just the most intense pain I've ever had in my life. And finally, after about 30 seconds, it starts to diminish, and I start breathing, and I pull my hands away, and blood's just running down my face. I've got a picture of me in the mirror, like I just got my ass kicked, and I had dug my fingernails so deep into both sides of my nose, it had ripped the skin, and blood's coming down. And I'm looking in the mirror, like I'm completely out of it too, like dazed, like where am I and what just happened? My wife comes running up. She was downstairs, and she goes, what the hell just happened? And I'm like, I don't know. I said, what did you hear? And she said it sounded literally like a kitchen hutch or one of our big pieces of furniture got thrown across the room and crashed onto the floor, and it shook the whole house. And I just look at her, I go, I don't know what the hell just happened. I literally just woke up on the floor and my face looked like this. Freaked me out. I realized at that point I had been working with some power, some magic, that I wasn't fully understanding yet what I had discovered. So I went to a friend of mine who does intuitive readings, all of that stuff. And she said, yeah, you were attacked by a negative, dark entity. And I had never learned about protecting myself before going into those states. And what she said happened was I invited in some sort of dark energy that tried to get inside me, and it obviously did because it kicked my ass. But after that, I learned the techniques to protect myself. Never had another issue like that before or again, but that freaked me out. That kind of set me back for a good solid month or so, because I was just like, okay, I'm going to ease up a little bit on what I'm doing, because that was just a little more intensity than I wanted to take on at that moment. So let's move forward. Kicking ass, things are back on track. I'm seeing more and more of what my purpose is, and it's being revealed to me as I go through all this. And we get to Date with Destiny. We ended up doing 6 Tony Robbins events last year. COVID lockdown was such a blessing. I read just shy of 200 books in 2020, attended 6 Tony Robbins events, built a successful e-commerce company, awoke and learned my true powers. I mean, all of this in 2020, right? So I go to this Tony Robbins event, Date with Destiny, and I've got one purpose in mind. I want to remove this anger that I had dealt with my entire life, this frustration that I didn't understand where it was stemming from, but I felt like that was the last kind of piece to my puzzle. I'd been doing all this healing and the dark night of the soul, and I'd gone in and healed my inner child and forgave my past and all these things, right, that you're supposed to do. But I still had this anger, and it's like, what the hell is it? Where does it come from? And after the first day, it was all revealed to me, because my life has not been easy, to say the least. I was abandoned by my father at birth, my biological father at birth. I've been sexually abused as a child, depression most of my life, terrible divorce. I was an alcoholic, addicted to drugs, addicted to sex, you name it. I've had so many things happen to me in my life that I was blaming myself for. I tried to kill myself 3 separate times. One time was pretty damn close. I mean, I woke up in the ICU, and they told me 15 minutes longer and poof, I was gone. So it hasn't been an easy road. And what I discovered after that first day of this event was all of this anger, all of this fear that I've been living, or anger and frustration I've been living with, was from my father leaving me at birth, and that feeling of abandonment. And so I went that next morning, I was going to write him a letter and tell him, I wasn't going to send it to him. I was just letting it myself heal from it. So I go to write this letter, and I get one sentence in and I freaking lost it. I cried for an hour straight, just uncontrollably. And then all of a sudden, poof, it was gone. And I'm like, oh. So then I didn't have to write the letter, because I cleansed it. I healed myself with that understanding of forgiving him, blaming him for all of that, right? So I go through the rest of the week, and on day 5, they have what's called Transformation Day. And Tony takes you back, and we do a past regression meditation. And we're supposed to go back to the earliest childhood memory we can think of. And for me, I go back to a point that I totally forgot about, didn't even remember. And it was my 5-year-old self. And we're going down, my mom and me were going down to Texas to visit my biological dad who had left, and I had never seen him before. So, Tony says, put yourself into your own eyes and feel and see what you were thinking right before that happened. And I'm thinking, if I screw this up, he's not going to come home. He's not going to be my dad. All I wanted was to have a dad like all the other kids that I knew, and it's like I had blamed myself. I put so much pressure on me at that moment that it's like, if I'm not perfect, he won't love me. So I'm seeing through my eyes, and it's so powerful. And I'm laughing. I'm laughing at how absurd it was to think that I had this sort of power, that I was in control of what he did, but I blame myself all these years for this bullshit that I was just a 5-year-old kid, right? So Tony says, put yourself into the other person's eyes. And I go into my mom's eyes, and I'm able to see through her eyes and feel what she was feeling at that moment, and the fear she had about the whole, all she wanted was to give me a father, and the love she had for wanting to do this for me. Yet she was so angry with him for having left her, and just that whole, she was afraid, not knowing what to do. She didn't know where to go. That was her last resort. I'm going to go down to Texas and see if we can make this work. So I started crying for her at that moment, because I could feel her desire to want to help and to protect and love me, but she didn't know what to do. This was her only option. Then Tony says, put yourself in the other person's eyes, if there was one. And I go into my biological father, Robert's eyes. And it was like, he was scared shitless. He's like, I ran away to Texas to avoid being a husband and a father and those responsibilities. Now we're here trying to pull him back in, and he didn't want any part of it. And I could feel what he was feeling. I could understand what he was thinking at that moment. And it just, the whole event made me just feel a sort of compassion and forgiveness and a love that I'd never experienced before. And it all just hit me from that one moment. And at that point, I was never the same again. It changed everything about me. And I didn't even know how much it changed until a couple days later. I call my mom up after the event ends, and I want to tell her about this healing and this experience I just had. And I start off telling her how much I loved her and how much I appreciated her and everything that she had done for me. I was so grateful, and I forgave her. I said, I forgive you for anything you think you did wrong with me, because you made me the person I am today, right here, right now. And she's like, oh, she's crying. I wish I would have been harder on you. And I'm like, Mom, if you would have been harder on me, I would have fricking broke. I was fragile, I tried to kill myself. I couldn't have dealt with it then, but I can deal with it now. And because of everything you did, I'm able to deal with it, and I'm able to move forward as the new me. And that's when she says, Joey, I've got something I need to tell you. And she's crying. I said, okay, what's up? She goes, Robert, he's not your father. Like, what? After everything I just gone through, it didn't faze me. It was more of just like a shock. Like, did I hear that right? This is crazy. So she talks for a minute. I go on, tell me the story, and she's crying, said she'd been holding this secret in for 41 years, and it was weighing on her so fucking hard. and all she thought so many times of telling me, but she knew how fragile I was and she thought it would destroy me. So she had to keep this secret. And she said only 3 people in the world knew it. And they had all vowed to take it to their grave with them. So it was my stepfather, Bill, my biological father, Robert, and my uncle, John, who had just passed away the year before. So she goes on to tell me that she wanted a child so badly, but Robert, he was infertile. He was unable to have children. So she wanted a child so badly, she went to every extreme she could find. She even went as far as going down as contacting the Colombian embassy to see about adopting an orphan from Colombia. And at that moment, I'm like, okay, time out. Like, are you telling me that the reason I get so tan in the summertime and the reason I am the only single person in my entire family lineage with bright blue eyes, are you telling me I'm half Colombian? That she responds all in tears, no, you're not Colombian. And I'm like, damn it. It was like for that fading little like second, my fantasy of being an orphan son of a Colombian dictator or drug lord, it like poof, it was gone. But maybe in another reality. So she goes on to tell me that they were doing experimental procedure at her hospital she worked at in 1978, in vitro fertilization. And it was there that I found out and discovered that my father wasn't truly this alcoholic, womanizing, abandoning piece of shit that I blamed for everything. In actuality, my real father, my biological father, was a med student at that hospital. And in turn, he became a doctor at that hospital, which now meant through compassion, forgiveness, and love, everything I had just gone through the previous days and forgiving her and everybody else involved, I opened up the door to this new reality that didn't exist until right here, right now. And it was at that point I realized I just rewrote my entire story. I rewrote my entire life and I rewrote my DNA. I now have the DNA of a freaking doctor. I had my children, my 2 sons have the DNA of a doctor in them. Their grandfather is a doctor. So they're screwed at this point because it's like they have absolutely no excuse to not perform at life. They've been given all the tools necessary. It's like, come on, guys, I'm not letting you slack on this, you know? So through all of that, if that wasn't amazing enough, what I realized I'd also done was I released my mother from the 41 years of hell and the 41 years of lies she'd been living with. I released her from that to now create the future she desires and dreams of without that lie, without that burden weighing on her heart. And through it all, I realized how powerful we truly are in our ability to rewrite our past, to create the future we desire, and to live in the present moment that we choose to be in. And it's all done through our imagination. And I found it's done through the components of forgiveness, compassion, and love. When we harness all of that and we imagine for greater things, for the betterment of others, the world changes. It is like that. And everything you thought you knew can change in the blink of an eye. It happened to me, and I wouldn't have believed it if it didn't, but I actually went through it and I got to experience this, and it changed my life forever, as you would imagine. So that's really my story, you know, in a nutshell, of my awakening, of my coming to realize and understand the power that all of us possess. And now it's my purpose in life and my mission, as I was shown through my meditations and visions, my purpose is to share my journey with the world and to help people understand and see that they each have this ability to create whatever they want. And I've discovered how to do it. So that's my purpose in life now, is just to teach people this power. And I live in grace every day, and it's the most amazing gift I've ever been given. I couldn't be more humble and happy to have experienced all the bullshit in my life, to now be revealed as to why it all had to happen that way, and now how I get to make a difference in the world. So yeah, it was truly amazing.
Dude, it's a great story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I find. I've done a lot of similar work. I feel like a lot of coaches and almost everybody's sort of program has the mental component, as far as like working through some traumas. This is why we have to be called coaches, right? Because I don't have like an 8-year degree. I went to school for 8 years. I did do that. I don't have a degree that reflects that for sure, right?
Right.
Or even several, or even a minor. That was a felony. No, I'm kidding. But I really do appreciate that. And I think that's some of the most powerful work, right? Is when we go through and assess, if you had not done that, if you had not, reverted back to that previous earlier memory and had that experience rewriting that story, then you would have never probably opened up and found out that secret that had been buried. So
absolutely. That was it. If I had not done the work and rewrote the story, exactly like you said, then the opportunity to have my past changed and my DNA rewritten and to find all that out, my mom would have taken it to her grave, most likely.
Yep.
And I'd still be believing and blaming myself for all the bullshit in my life, because the guy that happened to be married to my mom first left when I was born and had absolutely nothing to do with me. But I would have blamed my whole life on it.
Yep. And because you had the willingness and strength to do that and assess the story, that we all create the story of our life, like we get to choose. That's the beauty of it. The Buddhist proverb is something like, who is he who makes the grass green? We get to tell the story of ourselves. And like you're talking about, you could have chosen victim mentality, right? And we all can, like everybody can.
I lived in it for 41 years.
Sure.
I mean, that was who I was, and it felt good, I thought, to be that victim, woe is me bullshit,
Well, even now I can feel, old past programs or whatever you want to call that, that I need to flush out of, and I can feel the part of me that doesn't want to get rid of it too. I don't know if that's like entity or what the fuck, but I can feel it. I know it's there. I'm like, well, I really need to let go of this layer or this certain thing. And I can feel the resistance to wanting to get rid of it too, and being like, wow, that is a strong hook.
It's the power of two things: our ego and the illusion we're given that we live in. It's like our higher self is protecting us so much because it doesn't think that we're capable of accepting it. So it continues to let us live in this illusion as a kind of comfort blanket, right? And whereas when you're finally ready to take on the illusion, to see past it, and I've got a meditation I actually wanted to share with your audience. I'll have a link on my website that they can go to, but it has the exact meditation that I did to heal prior to the Date with Destiny event, the exact meditation I built out, and it was all a musical meditation. I found music is one of the keys to helping rewrite our past and heal, because of the frequencies that it puts us in. And I had this playlist come up that I was listening to one day, and I just typed in one song. I think it was an Air Supply song. I think We're all out of love, right? And I typed it in because I wanted to feel that sadness I was feeling. So I typed that song in and I hit play on YouTube, And what happened next? I was given in a specific order. It played out the 7 or 8 specific songs. I didn't manipulate it. It played it out this exact way for me as I listened to it. And I was bawling. It took me on this journey of accepting my past, forgiving it, remembering and realizing that God is here protecting us, and all we have to do is let go and give it to him. And then by the end of it, it's a healing, and like you're jumping up and down in tears of joy. And it's a musical journey that it was like God gave me this. And I started listening to it every day, like in the shower, and every morning. This is back in like August, September last year. And every morning I'm listening to it in the shower and I'm bawling, trying to get over this. I didn't know what it was, but it was the death. I was literally killing my old version of me that I believed was me. And I was allowing my higher self, I was basically telling my higher self, I got this now. You don't have to hold the wheel anymore. I got the wheel. You sit back and watch all the fun shit that's getting ready to happen, because I don't need your guidance anymore. I've grown, I've evolved. And it was at that moment of letting go of that old self, in a sense, letting my old self, it's the rebirth, it's that would, if I had to say this song playlist meditation that I put together, it's kind of a way to traverse the dark night of the soul, because it has every aspect of what needs to be done in order to accept it, release it, move forward now in control of your destiny and not under the reins of your higher self saying, nope, you're not ready. I got to protect you still. You're just a scared little child. It's like, no, I'm a grown ass adult now and I understand what I'm doing. So I got this. So yeah, I'm going to put a link together that I wanted to offer your viewers.
Awesome.
I haven't created it, but I'll have it done today. It'll just be my website, www.myrealitypractice.com/Bootsy Greenwood.
Okay, cool.
So,
awesome.
And then they'll be able to access that meditation specifically. I've given it to multiple people and it's done exactly the same thing it did to me. I had a friend text me like, okay, I'll listen to it. And she texted me last week and goes, oh my God, what have you done to me? I'm bawling. This is so amazing. And she was in a rough spot and she woke up and I respond back. I'm like, that's exactly what it's supposed to do.
Nice.
And
awesome.
She wrote back the next morning, was like, she woke up feeling completely healed. Like whatever she did and went to bed afterwards, she's just like, that was amazing. Like, I just feel like a totally different person now. And I'm like, well, I appreciate the feedback. That's what it happened to me. And I knew it would do the same for others if they can connect with it in that certain way. It's crazy. So yeah,
it is. I can 100% relate. I've done a lot of similar type of work. I think, like I said, that's kind of what a lot of us coaches or guides or whatever the hell we're going to call ourselves do, some of that deeper work. And that's the reason why we kind of have to call ourselves what we call ourselves,
right.
I've had success with doing regular therapy too, but I found that a lot of that stuff sometimes doesn't give us the opportunity to rewrite the story. We just keep bringing up the same old story sometimes, depending, right? Like, I'm not trying to be critical here or know it all, but like, just bringing up trauma over and over again, right, is just re-experiencing the same thing. We have to build a new story in order to really move past that, to accept it, of course. And that process takes time, right. But I've had a lot of success myself doing that exact type of work. And it's something that I highly encourage people to do. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I'll definitely make sure that link is in the description. And let us know where else can we follow you and find your work?
Yeah, my Facebook page is Joey Kramer on Facebook. And then I've got a page that is reality practice. So reality practice, or my reality practice, I think, is at my reality practice. And then I've got a Facebook group as well for reality practice. I've got my website, which is www.myrealitypractice.com. I've got a YouTube channel right now. Type in search reality practice and it'll take you right there. I'm building different videos, exercises, some meditations. A lot of it's more building out the principles and discussing the principles of how we create our reality. The idea of compassion, forgiveness, love. We're living in an illusion. I mean, there's so many aspects to how this is done. It's just not a one size fits all. You have to incorporate all the different components in order to heal, in order to see past the veil. I think what you said was really important, Dawn. You've done a lot of work in the past, therapy, stuff like that. And I think the biggest downfall with current medicine, or how it's always been, is they only focus on trying to accept the past, accept what happened, get over what happened, but they don't really teach us how to forgive what happened and to understand that we're the ones that created it. This is our story. Before we came back here, we literally wrote out the story we wanted to live and the lessons we wanted to learn. So we arrive here on Earth already predetermined to have to experience these certain things. And in order to get where we want to go and grow and learn from it, we have to go through these certain things. And some of them can be horrible. Sexual abuse. Like I said, I experienced it. I feel sorry for everybody that's gone through that type of abuse. But at the end of the day, I'm able to go back and understand why it happened to me, because if that didn't happen to me, I would never be able to connect with other people who have suffered from similar things. And I couldn't relate to them. I couldn't help them on their journey if I didn't first have to experience the bullshit for myself. So that's part of that grace that I said I get to live in every day. Is I'm so grateful for everything good and bad that's happened to me, because it's served a specific role and a specific purpose in who I am now and what my purpose is moving forward. And it's amazing.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I'm right there with you. Yeah. And I agree. It's like a lot of stuff that we focus on is problem focused, I think, and less solution focused very often. And, for me and working with people, and I'm sure you too, and a lot of other people, the idea is to solve problems, right? Not continue to focus on.
Right. The dwelling on them does no freaking good.
Right.
It only keeps you in that negative state of disempowerment versus taking control of that situation, even though it's in the past, which doesn't even exist. It only exists here. Take control of the situation here, rewrite the damn thing, make it how you choose to see it, see the grace in it and the beauty of why it happened, rather than pissed off and sad that it did happen.
Yeah,
that
it's like
makes sense.
Yeah, it's a stick. We can either use it to, push ourselves up or smack ourselves over the head a bunch of times,
Right.
It's your choice. And, granted, obviously, people go through difficult experiences a lot, but like going through and having the courage, to accept it and to consciously, say what you will about it. Like you said, that's going to give you the opportunity to help other people. And I find that, a lot of people's purpose is helping people with things that they personally struggled with. It saves a lot of time, like I was saying earlier, it's like I went through this whole process myself. It's like my heart goes out so much to people who are disempowered and feel victimized by society that I want to get them on the phone right now and help them, get through this, this process, because it can be very painful, but it can also, it's also necessary. And I think it can be shortcut, or at least you can have some support, some help, some cheering on your side, those types of things,
Right.
instead of having to deal with everything all by yourself. And I think
everybody needs somebody to help them with this journey. There's so many of us awakening at this point, and there's so many still asleep. And as more and more awaken, they need the answers. They need somebody. I can't help everybody. You can't help everybody. There needs to be so many more like us, because there's going to be so many people that need to understand what's going on. They need to get past their past and realize what really exists right here, right now, and that we have this power to create. And I tell people, it's such a mind-blowing power that we're not able to have it right now necessarily. If we had it right now, if God said, all right, I'm going to give you your true power of creation through free will, have at it. World's blown up literally in 3 minutes because of the programming, the subconscious thoughts that the majority of people in the world have. We'd be invaded by aliens. Nuclear bombs everywhere. There'd be starvation. There'd be all this. There'd be zombie apocalypse. It would all happen because our imagination is creating it all. But I feel like there's dampers. We've been put in a holding pattern, and it only reveals little bits of how this is done as we progress with that responsibility, and as people like you and I, other people, as we're awakening and we understand the sheer magnitude of that power, it becomes a constant, every day, every second thought as to where our thoughts go, because we know what happens when we allow them to go towards the negative. So we're being given a little bit of a leash, so to say, to kind of play around and experience how reality creation works, but we're still haven't been given the keys yet, because we're 50, we got a learning permit, but we haven't graduated to driving yet. But everybody else, the majority sleeping, sitting there, they're 12 years old, like, gosh, I can't wait till one day I get to drive. It's like, hold on. So it's really fun to be going through this journey, to experience everything I'm learning and that we both are going through, because it's only going to allow us to help in so many more ways as the future reveals itself to us. So yeah, I love it.
Man, it's awesome. Yeah, dude. I'm so glad we connected, and really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today, because I feel like this is a really helpful episode, and you're a great resource. So I'll make sure all those links are in the show notes. Folks, go check out Joey and all his work. And yeah, I'll make sure everything is accessible, and that meditation link and all that good stuff is underneath and in the podcast feed. So thanks everybody so very much for taking the time to get to know us. We will revisit your alien abduction story. Now you've got your credibility across. I think everybody, we can see how sincere you are. And then so that'll make the alien abduction story go down maybe a little bit smoother, huh? It won't be so tangled.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Maybe next time we can get into that story, which is crazy in and of itself, but we can dive deeper into some of the more fun principles of how all this works and really get deep and dirty on it. I'd love it. So thank you so much for having me. And it's been a privilege and an honor to be on your show and to share my story. I'm grateful, and I'd love to return the favor. So whenever you're ready, I'd love to hear your story and your journey and come on my show. So
sure, man. I'd love to. Yeah, let's keep in touch. We'll collaborate into the future, and I appreciate your time. Very, very
much. You got it, brother. All right. God bless.
Later, everybody.